If you thought the last race for the Turbo Truck Series at Oran Park was anything to go off of, you haven't seen anything until we take to the track at Pukekohe Park in New Zealand for 25 laps of racing action. This is race number 6 of the 1UP Turbo Truck Series for 2023, and we're in beautiful New Zealand at Pukekohe Park for the second year in a row, but this is going to be completely different from what we've seen last year here, because the drivers have lobbied for a more aggressive package and we have brought it to them. It's going to be very difficult for these drivers to stay on track and to avoid each other. This is going to be absolutely chaotic for the start here at Pukekohe Park. And alongside me to bring you all the action is Ryan Griffin once again, and I've basically summed it up already. This is going to be a very treacherous race for all 42 of our drivers. The main concern for them shouldn't be each other. They should be focused on just staying on track at all costs.
Well, we said this even last race that when it comes to road racing, your number one priority or concern is just keeping on the road while keeping an eye out for your competition. So the fact that the drivers want a more aggressive package here means they want to see a little more action, but that also means you have to take into account you got to be more aware of what's going on around you, and more these drivers are going to be on heightened, and they're going to be looking out for everything else. So this should be very fun to watch, because they're going to be like trying to take advantage of everything they see, and man, it could get crazy here.
Absolutely. That's pretty much the only guarantee in this race, is that it's going to get absolutely crazy. As we can now bring you the full starting lineup. Not that qualifying means a whole lot with this new package, but it's always good to be out front if you can. Noah Hart takes his first pole of the season at a place where he wasn't really favored to take pole, but that's a great sign for Crossroads Racing that they're starting to get their package figured out. Earl Sear lines up alongside him in second. Roger James, Francois Chastain, who won this race last year, and Billy Kidd rounded out the top 5. This is going to be a very interesting race. We've got superstar drivers making the dip down. We've got drivers making their 1UP debuts in this race. We've got a lot of people on a lot of different agendas, so it's going to be very tough to pinpoint a favorite for winning this race. Chastain obviously stands out. He won this race last year, but there's nothing guaranteed about the way this race goes, so you could have a winner come from anywhere.
Yeah, and with as chaotic as this race could be, we're never too early to be talking about this. I know we're 5 races in, and this is race 6, but you look at where some of the guys at the points are starting this race, and I noticed particularly Kev Shear starting 14th, and Brandon Smith start 18th, so these guys are going to be mid-pack. They're going to be right in the middle of the action, so you can't necessarily put yourself in a position where you could be better in the championship, but you could really hurt yourself if you have something happen here early to you. And with this package, you're going to have to weigh your risk versus reward, and like I said, I'm with you when we saw who the pole sitter was. It's just kind of surprised to see Noah starting up front, but hey, maybe they could take advantage of it. It's an opportunity. They're starting up front. Hell, even the 3, who I said has had some rough weeks here as of recently, to start in P2. Maybe they could take advantage of this, and we'll see what happens.
Anything can happen here on this very short, very action-packed road course. So, with that being said, we've got 42 drivers ready to take the green flag here at Pukekohe Park, and we are ready to bring you 25 laps of high-octane action here down under in New Zealand. This is the 1UP Turbo Truck Series from Pukekohe Park, and the green flag is coming out in moments, so stay tuned because the action is going to pick up. In what might be the only calm moment of this race, we have Noah Hart and Earl Sear leading us to the green flag. Will these drivers make it out of here in one piece? We're about to find out. Coming through the main straightaway, coming to the green flag, we are underway at Pukekohe Park for 25 laps, and Noah Hart looks like he's got a pretty good jump, but Earl Sear pulls alongside him. Everybody's jockeying for position in the early stages. This is the moment of truth right here. Turns 2, 3, and 4. Is Roger James going to make a dive? He is going to make a dive, and it's happened immediately! Noah Hart off the track and into the barriers. He's out of the race already. And Earl Sear, too. Both of our front row starters haven't even made it 4 quarters as the field stacks up behind them.
And already we got, I mentioned the points earlier in the pre-race, but the 0-2 of Shear and his teammate both look like got involved a little bit in that. So that's the top 2 in points involved in something from the start. But the pole sitter on the first lap, basically first corner, is turned around and into the tire barrier as Roger James now leads.
Yeah, you see Kev Shearer right at the
sort itself back out.
Yeah, you see Kev Shearer right at the back of the field. Could be disastrous for him as the field streams their way through turns 8 and 9. Roger James leads the first lap ahead of Terzic and Chastain. But for Noah Hart and Earl Sear, this is a worst-case scenario. Neither one will see the end of the first lap. They are both done for the day before they've even completed one circuit of the racetrack.
And that, again, you feel for both those teams, especially Noah Hart, who has had, I wouldn't say a bad season, but he's definitely not been on any radars here to start this season. And they have a statement with the pole, and then Sear, who I've talked about the last couple of weeks and how it seems like they qualify good, but they can't seem to show the results. Well, that season continues for them as Roger James is under challenge now from Terzic in the 8. You call a little bit of that as we're trying to figure out who got caught up in that melee on the first lap.
Yeah, we saw Lod Fischuren in the grass. We saw Noah Hart's teammate Jacob Buchholz in the pits, Kev Shearer, Suleiman Sariev in the pits. But here comes Terzic in the 8, trying to make a move on Roger James for the race lead, going down in the turn 1 and 2. We saw catastrophic results happen the first time we came through these set of corners, but it looks like they're going to make it through cleanly, and we got a first lead change of the race. Terzic to the front as we head down the back straightaway.
And you got another jockeying for position. Looks like Brian Grigsby in the 92 is trying to gain a spot there.
And we got more
action down in the same corner.
Jensen Nomina, Angel Gutierrez, Bronson Minnick. And we got more. Borak Sarakov, Nick Breeding. Gutierrez sneaks through on the outside. Kane Consley in the 38. This has just been a chaotic start to the race, and it all seems to be happening down in the turns 3 and 4. And Roger James went off.
And so did the leaders.
And so did Terzic. We've got Billy Kidd leading the race now in this 72 ahead of Chastain and Nelson Reeves, who did a fantastic job making his way through the carnage. He's now up to 3rd, while Terzic and Roger James have fallen back to the final 2 spots in the top 10.
Yeah, this... you said this, Ray. We said it at the broadcast, or at the pre-race, that this race was going to be chaotic. I didn't think we expected this 4 laps into the race, but... Man, the same corner has already caused chaos twice in just 4 laps. And I think at this point it's just about trying to survive. As you mentioned, Nelson Reeves up to 3rd so far. The defending winner Chastain up to 2nd. Now looking for the lead on Kidd.
Yeah, Chastain...
I think he might get it down the straightaway.
Yeah, Chastain knows his way around this track. He won here a year ago. But Billy Kidd swerves in front of him to barely hold on to the lead, but he might not keep it down the main straightaway because here comes Chastain. And Mac Johnson out of the race. He's got significant damage to his number 5. Not sure where he got that. We'll get you replays of all our accidents after the race concludes, just as we did at Oran Park, because it is going to be nigh impossible to find what happened to any of these guys over the course of this race as it's being presented live. But you see Brandon Johnson, he started last after a qualifying miscue. He had damage. But the 3 leaders are starting to pull away from Levi Thorley and Jojen Stoyan, who's trying to salvage something in this race for Crossroads Racing. He's up into the 5th spot, and they Constantine together down into the hairpin, and it looks like Billy Kidd's going to sneak the lead back from Chastain.
Yeah, and Kidd back to the point, and Nelson Reeves still hanging on there too. He had that dominating win at Atlanta earlier in the year where we talked about, maybe the championship could be between him and his teammate, but good run for them so far. And man, I'm still struck about how chaotic this thing has been in just 6 laps, and we've already seen, and how we got a 3-truck battle for the lead pretty much now too. So, Kidd's little sideways as Chastain, I think, is going to take the lead back from him here.
Yeah, and we've got...
Reeves is into that fight now, firmly into that fight.
Absolutely. These 3, a Chevy, a Ford, and a Toyota, battling it out for the lead at Pukekohe Park, and they're starting to leave the rest of the field well behind them. And the battle for 4th through 8th starting to heat up as well. Forley and Stoyan side by side for that position, with Ben McDonald sneaking his way into the mix as well. But look at how much they slide out of the hairpin. This is just going to be an insane battle for position.
We might want to keep a camera on this 3 wide right here, because I don't think this is going to end well. But they managed to sort it. Oh no, they didn't.
They almost had a catastrophic failure in that race. right there, but Ben McDonnell manages to hold on to it. That just shows you a driver of his caliber, a Superstar Series veteran, able to hang on to that truck at breakneck speeds as Chastain starts to extend his lead over Kidd and Reeves. And this could be treacherous as they go 3 wide once again off of turn 4.
You know, I'll say this much. Yeah, we've had the chaos of the 2 laps, but the fact that we have 3 basically wide battles at the moment. I mean, I'll say this if you're a fan right now, you're enjoying this. I mean, this is crazy, but at the same point, you know, the drivers are probably on pins and needles. You know, up on the steering wheels is Grigsby now doors. I believe what was that, the 21 that
That's
was
the
there?
31
I can't see the number there. It's 31. Okay, and then the you know, the leaders right now, Chastain leads it over Reeves. Reeves got around Kidd. So this 3 truck battle continues for the lead, and it continues to. I mean, the fight for 4th is just as exciting as the fight for the lead.
Yeah, but Levi Forley is starting to stretch it out over the battling pair of Grigsby and Stoyan now. But these 3 are putting on an absolute clinic. As you see, it's so hard to keep it on the racetrack, but these guys are doing it so well. It's amazing to see how these drivers are adapting to this package. They had a little practice session before this. As you see, our retirees, we've had 5 of them already. Angel Gutierrez in his one-up debut, it's not going to end very well for him. He's going to finish 38th in this one. But looking at this battle for the lead now, Reeves and Kidd side by side with Chastain now. These guys are going to have an absolute thrill ride for the remainder of this race. We're already about a third of the way through this thing.
I mean, it almost looks like, too, that when it appears to be the issue, we talk about these guys get sideways, it looks like they're running over the one rumble strip, and I don't know if they just made it slicker, if it's a tire compound they brought here.
Oh, this ain't going to end well. They're going to go 3 wide into turn. And there's Grigsby off track.
Out wide.
And that's it for Brian Grigsby. Into the tires and out of the race goes the 92 for the 2nd week in a row. Heartbreak for Fingai Saitomi Motorsports. Brian Grigsby was having such a strong run. He had the fastest lap of the race, but that's going to be it for him, unfortunately. He's going to be done for the race just for that slight off. But here's the battle for the lead. Reeves getting sideways. Billy Kidd takes advantage. And Chastain slips to 3rd now. This is going to be a very tight battle for the remainder of this race, if they can all keep it on track together.
Yeah, and just to go back to Grigsby for a minute, it's sad to see that. You know, me, of course, those who know me know that I'm involved with the race team. You know, that was the team I drove for the race team in this series last year when we won the title. Brian's such a great guy. And he's got a good. He definitely is capable of running well. It just sucks that they've had the start to the year that they've had. Hopefully they can turn it around and have a run here in the later weeks, but it sucks to go out early, especially here. This battle these 3 back here, I think I think their battle's a little more exciting even than the lead, because they just keep sliding and running 3 wide, and the fact they haven't nothing has happened yet there, I think is hilarious. As Reeves is now going to make the move on Kidd here.
Oh, and they make contact. Into the wall, out of the hairpin. Nelson Reeves and Billy Kidd. Kidd peels off to pit straight away. That is terrible for the 2 of the 3 leaders that were dicing it out for the lead. That gives the lead solely to Francois Chastain. And at this point, Reeves has such significant damage. I don't know if he's going to be able to contend much more than this. Could this be the defining moment of the race? Could we have just seen Francois Chastain make the winning move right there?
And the thing is, Chastain didn't even make the move. It was somebody else making a move that caused that incident, and he's the beneficiary, as the 6 is going to run into 2nd here, going around the damaged truck of Reeves. But this is going to allow several guys back here to gain at least a couple of spots.
Yeah, that's good. They're all going to stream past Reeves, who he just has no more straight line speed in that 71 whatsoever, as Terzic now tries to make a move on the damaged 71. But going back to what you said about Grigsby, at least he has a home race to look forward to next time. He has 2 of them, actually. A doubleheader at Nashville to look forward to next time, a return to the ovals. That's going to suit him much better. But just heartbreak for him, and for Nelson Reeves as well. He was doing such a good job, but that's the 3rd of 3 Kings Motorsports trucks to have a little bit of trouble in the opening stages. He's going to fall well out of the top 10 as a result of this eventually. Doesn't look like he's going to pit to repair it, though. He thinks track position is more important here than a fixed race truck, and I'm not one to blame him for that. but you can see he's just got no straight line speed, and he's getting passed by several people. I said the King's Motorsports trucks were having a bit of trouble. Brandon Smith's actually holding on to 11th, so not too bad for him. But everybody else just having a really rough outing, as Chastain now suddenly has a 4-second lead to play with as we take halfway.
But you mentioned the King's Motorsports trucks. We were talking about, we talked about since the beginning of the year, the way that they've started the year. They had the dominating win from out of Kev Shear at Phoenix. They had the dominating win from Reeves at Atlanta. And it seems like these last couple of weeks, especially on the road courses, granted last week I think was more due to some of the strategy that was played, but still, these last 2 weeks have not been kind to these King Motorsports trucks on these road courses. Granted, yes, it's still early here. As you just said, we just are basically reaching halfway, and Brandon Smith, who comes in here as the point leader, is running just outside the top 10. It's not like he's struggling, but Kev Shear, of course, was involved in an early lap one deal. He's further back in this field, and it makes you wonder, maybe this momentum we saw them start the year with, and this great speed they showed, and somebody else is around.
And it's Arish Sarkar involved in that, King Consley as well. More trouble in turns 3 and 4 to take out a couple more trucks. Aiden Smith, you see, has got a lot of damage. In that 9, Lod Vishurin's got a little scrape on the left-hand side. Dalton Sate with a little bit. Jagan Janeda, he was running just outside the top 10. He's fallen back a few places in his Truck Series debut. But yeah,
there was actually another truck there too. There was a light blue truck, I believe it's the number 51, that was stopped there before we came in on that 70.
51. So he's done for the day for sure. But Ben McDonald doing a solid job in his first truck race of the season. He currently is in a battle for the 5th position. But Chastain is just putting on a clinic so far, doing everything right. And Eugen Stoyan up to 2nd place for Crossroads Racing. For all the trouble they had in this race with Noah Hart crashing out on the first lap, and with Jacob Buchholz having similar issues on the first corner. But with that being said, Stoyan's putting on an absolutely fantastic drive for them. He's currently running in the runner-up spot as we're closing in on 11 laps to go.
I didn't notice this until the ticker went by here, but I mentioned Kev Shear earlier. He's actually a lap down now. So the struggles I was talking about with King's Motorsports on these road courses the last 2 weeks, before that incident happened, maybe this is the kink in the armor. Maybe this is what, this could be their Achilles heel. This could be what they need to work on over the course of the year before we get to the actual championship run later in the season, that work on these types of tracks. But Chastain up here, granted he slides it wide there.
Oh, but so does Stoyan and Terzic.
The guys behind him. But Chastain, I think coming into the day, didn't think he was gonna. He was starting 4th. He knew he probably had a shot to repeat here, but I don't think he expected this kind of shot to repeat. With almost a 3-second lead between him and Terzic, but I wouldn't necessarily give it to him yet, though. Terzic has closed the gap to the lead
and he's
the last couple of laps.
So yeah, this race is not over by any stretch. Although Chastain is starting to catch up on the 10 truck of Buchholz. They're going to catch him to put him a lap down, or actually a 2nd lap down for that 10 truck. You see him off in the distance there. So Chastain's got to keep his wits about him. He's got to make sure not to risk anything trying to get around that 10, and hopefully he can keep it on the racetrack as much as he can, because you can see he's not doing a good job keeping it on track there. But to be fair, no one else is either. They're all sliding wide out of the hairpin.
Yeah, they're all sliding. It seems like that corner again. I don't know if it's the tires or maybe just that curbing is slick, but it seems like every time we've seen a shot of trucks coming off that corner, there's somebody that's sliding off there. But now Chastain's got another thing he's got to worry about. He's got the slower 10 truck that's in front of him that he's catching. Again, the lead continues to shrink, not significantly, but enough to where, these guys could be a factor here. Wow, Terzic runs wide there. The 6 is going to take the advantage and take over the 2nd position.
Yeah, Eric Zenson up into 2nd. That's believe it or not, that actually is what Francois Chastain wants to see, is those guys battling it out amongst themselves for 2nd, because if they continue to do that, he'll be able to stretch his lead as he's now trying to get around the 10. Will he be able to hang on to it? Yes, he will. Chastain's cleared a lap traffic. Now, the question is, will Buchholz hold up these 3 at all in this battle for the second position. And we're closing in on the end of this race already, but we've already had enough carnage to last a season here at Pukekohe Park. Chastain holds the lead. Let's see what the gap is at the line. It pretty much stays the same at 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think Chastain is faster than the 6 at the moment. But the problem is, you know, he had to negate around the 10 truck and trying to take it easy. Each time I think he slides off, he's losing a little bit of time. So if he can keep it straight, I think he's okay. And again, for those wondering, we are going to pretty much do the same thing we did last week. We'll wait till the end of the race to go through the incidents we've seen today because of how quick this race does go by and the fact we have no full course yellows. But at the front, it is still the one truck as we take a look through the field to kind of see.
Oh, and we've got another one out.
If we have any more victims.
And it's Austin Zorgan this time in the 44 after the great highs that team had last time at Oran Park. Now their flagship truck is out of the race with Austin Zorgan. But Jagan Janeda is keeping the flag flying for Pirate Bay Motorsports, and Ben McDonnell especially. He's 7.5 seconds off the lead, but he is in the 5th position right now. He might lose it here to Levi Forley this time by, or to Roger James, I should say. But McDonnell holding a steady wheel in 6th, another strong run for that Pirate Bay Motorsports team, as now Stoyan has to worry about his teammate getting in the way.
Well, I just noticed this too. I mentioned that Chastain may be faster, but the 6 actually knocked down. It's under 2. It's about just over 2 seconds right now. So this thing may not be over yet. We just saw briefly the damage struck at Kev Shear. Definitely not a great day for Shear, and you know they're going to have to again. This is going to be the test for this organization. They obviously did not have a very good day today or last week. Granted, last week was more due to strategy, but can they recover going to next week and try to build back this dominance that it looked like they showed at the start of the year? So, well, Chastain leads with 6 to go, and the interval went up that time. So I think Chastain might be safe. Again, it's hard to say because each lap it seems like it changes. The battle is on for 3rd, though.
Yeah, between Stoyan and Terzic now in the battle for 3rd. They've both gotten around Jacob Buchholz as well. Ben McDonnell's now solidified himself into 5th. Roger James making a solid comeback after going off track and into the wall earlier. He's doing a solid job. And looking now just outside the top 10. Janeda, like I said earlier for Pirate Bay, he's doing a solid job just outside the top 10. Jeremy Frey's up there as well. Zenson went off track again there. That's just going to be an unfortunate circumstance there. He should be able to make it through this, though. Oh, and looking in the background, Stoyan's going for pit road. Something happens at a 31 now.
Again, we'll see what may happen to the 31 later, but that's unfortunate for them because they had at least a top 4, maybe a podium. It's not sure if the battle with Terzic would have come out in his favor, but man, they had at least a top 4 probably guaranteed, and man, it sucks to see that happen to them. And I also noticed when we were doing the rundown that points leader Brandon Smith is in the top 10. He's running 8th right now, so trying to minimize. You know, it may not be what they wanted from the kind of dominance we've seen out of his teammates this year, but he's sitting in 8th. That's going to help the points.
Yeah, and we can confirm it was a flat tire for Jochen Stoyan, and that's the final nail in the coffin for Crossroads Racing. It started out so promisingly for them, but unfortunately none of them will finish very high up the order as a result. Buchholz in 30th, 2 laps down, Noah Hart out of the race, and Jochen Stoyan now in 26th place. That's not what you want to see for Crossroads. Hopefully they have a better showing in the Nashville doubleheader, because they really need something good to happen for them, as we now have 4 laps to go in the race total.
Yeah, 4 to go. Chastain out front by about 3 seconds. So yeah, I think Chastain probably has this thing on lock. But again, as we've seen already twice today, actually at the front, anything can happen. So you can say that Chastain has it, but man, and how about Chastain too? Because it wasn't a move he made. He didn't make a move. He literally was just running his own race. And the 2 trucks in front of him got together, and sometimes it's that simple. You know, you're going along minding your own business, the 2 guys in front of you get together, and suddenly, hey, here you are, the beneficiary, as he closes in now on poor Kev Shear. And Kev Shear is going to want to forget this day, that's for sure. He's going to be like, can we go to Phoenix again? You know, just hoping to get back to a track where he knows he can do well at. And how about Chastain? You know, this year has not been as kind to Chastain, I think, to start the year with, but He won here last year. He was really good on the road courses last year. I know he was a good competitor on the road courses last year. Maybe this is the start of his declaration of like, hey, I'm going to be a factor this year.
But he is getting held up
against Kivshir.
He is getting held up quite a bit by that 02, who also has no straight line speed in that 02 at whatsoever. Chastain needs to make this pass stick out of the hairpin. You can see Zenson, he stays on track behind, and Chastain does get by the 02 of Shear. We'll see if the gap goes down at all at this stage of the race. We're coming to 2 laps to go, and at this point in the race, I think no matter what happens, because Eric Zenson has to get by Kev Shearer as well, and I think that move to get by the 02 might have just sewn it up for the 1 team.
Yeah, it's amazing to see this. They won here last year, and coming into this year with the more aggressive package, there was doubts as okay, can they pull off this again this year? And I think even Chastain may not have been that confident that they could pull off back to back here, but again, right place, right time. The 2 in front of them got together, go off track, damage themselves, and Chastain is the beneficiary. So he's gonna.
Oh, and I hate to interrupt. Brandon Smith, the points leader, he's done for the day on coming to the white flag. That is going to be terrible for him in the points chase, as he's now sits idle on pit road. He's going to lose a pretty assured spot in the top 10. We have only 1 lap to go for Francois Chastain, but that's got to hurt for Brandon Smith in the points battle. He's going to leave here in a big hole.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out because, man, I was talking about they were basically going to be the right spot for their team today, and coming to the white flag to have something happen, man, that's as a driver that kind of hate you hate to see that happen to drivers who their team is having a rough day, they're the bright spot, and then 1 lap, it's 1 moment, it's gone. But I tell you, a guy who's having a bright spot today, and that is this 1 truck of Chastain. He's gonna bring it around here.
Yeah, he might be the only one that's happy at the end of this race, but it won't matter to him. Coming out of turn 9 for the final time, Francois Chastain doubles up at Pukekohe Park. He wins here for the 2nd year in a row. And Eric Zenson, he made up 0.7 of a second in the final lap alone, but it will only be 2nd for him. But that's got to be a good day for him to survive this race. Terzic with another strong top 5 performance. He comes home 3rd. Ben McDonald just edged out Levi Forley for 4th. Great run for both those guys. Roger James, after the disaster he had at Oran Park, he'll take a 6th place, his first top 10 of the season. But looking further back, Jeremy Whalen, we didn't mention him all day long. He comes home 7th ahead of Jeremy Frey in 8th. Strong run for him. Janeda 9th, and Josh Gibson rounds out the top 10 just ahead of Jade and Sarakov. But man, as we make our way through the survivors of this race, because that's really what we gotta call them, they made it 25 laps, and that is something I'm sure a lot of their fellow drivers can't say. Nelson Reeves, he had that accident early on. He never really recovered from it, and a 23rd place will do for him. Eugen Stoyan, 25th. He does not deserve that one bit. He had such a strong day today, but it'll all be for naught as Billy Kidd comes home, the last truck on the lead lap, in 27th place. And it looks like McDonald had a bit of a crash coming to the pit lane now. And not many people are making their way into the pits. I think we might have had a stack up in the pits. Oh, yes, we have. A big stack up coming to the pit lane. And now you see why we didn't have any green flag pit stops today.
Yeah, we'll go in depth some of these replays for the incidents today, but and they're still stacking up at pit entry. Man, it kind of reminds me, there was the other race, I think was it last week or the week before we had a stack because they were coming to the pits. It was Phoenix, and
Chris Harvey gets spun out in the pit lane.
Still getting people spinning out, but we'll see what happened here with some of these incidents and try to figure out what happened. But Chastain, you got to think about Chastain, and just again, this was a as much as it was, he was right place, right time. It's still a statement win. Hey, they survived. They survived the chaos that is this race, and sometimes that's all it takes is survival, and you get on a momentum run. So we'll see if they can carry this momentum into the Nashville doubleheader next week. take a look at this again. You see Hart he's on the inside, and I think I don't know if he gets hooked by Spear or if he got sideways and then got hooked by Sear. But
oh no, he got hooked by the 22.
He went off the track and then got clipped by the 22.
Yeah, and then Sear went wide Sear went wide as a result, and he just had nowhere to go. And everybody's just running off track. I think you might be right. There might have been some leftover moisture down there that caused these guys to slide off. These guys are on slicks, remember, and everybody's just had a rough go of it down to turn 4 lap 1.
We did have a little overcast here this morning while the competitors were setting up. There was a brief shower. They did their best, they said, to clean off the track down there, but I don't know. There could have been some leftover moisture still at the track.
And here we look at Lagvashur, and if you were right, and there was some leftover moisture down there, it would really have shown itself down in that grass that Arbon weaved his way through there. That's just, I mean, the track workers, we know they did their best, but some things you just can't avoid. As you see, Gutierrez go off track for the second time in this race, and that's game over for the Robbers Racing 66. He was looking so much forward to this race, but he's got another few starts ahead, and I'm sure he'll do great in those. And you see Jensen Nomina, he went off track into the barriers in almost the same way that Gutierrez went off as well. Oh, and Austin Holloman follows suit right behind him. So that's 2 DNFs in 2 races for Austin Holloman here in the trucks.
Like I said, I'm just wondering, because I know they were working on that section of the track early this morning. Really, after the rain had stopped, they were working down there really hard. So I'm just wondering, maybe if it just was slick down there, and it just explained a lot of the incidents down there. Trying to see what happened here. Nothing going on there. A little nose damage to the one truck there.
That was the 13 of Brandon Johnson, I should say. Here's the 13. I think he's gonna try and commit to pit road, but he gets hooked by the 70. That's where their damage came from, and that's the end of their day. For Brandon Johnson, he had it off in qualifying. He started at the back, and this is what it got him, a DNF here at Pukekohe. And I think his steering arm got broken because he just couldn't avoid those barrels at the end of the pit lane. So, and then here was Grigsby's incident. This one really hurt for us to watch because Grigsby was having such a strong day, but he just went off in turn 3, and there's, as we've seen, not much he can do after that.
Yeah, not much you can do. Once you're in the tire barriers, that's pretty much it. Now let's see if we can see what happened here between Kidd and Reeves, and it looks like Kidd got sideways on that area of the track, on that rumble strip, and just got into the left rear quarter panel of Reeves, and it just hooked both trucks into the tire barriers. And both trucks did continue on. Both did finish on the lead lap, but definitely not where they should have probably finished. And then here's what happened to the 51.
Yeah, that's just one of his incidents. He had a couple of them in there going. You see Nathan Stapleton off track in the background, but you just hate to see it for all these guys who were doing such a good job. See Billy Kidd rejoining the racetrack. Here's Juneda's trouble. He got bumped by Brendan Smith, and that's a new one. He slides off the turn 9 wall, so that's a new spot for incidents to be had, but as he blows through the advertising boards. But this is Aiden Smith's incident, again, just off at turn 4, and not much he can do there. It's a tough break for all these guys because these track workers, they do absolutely everything they can, but sometimes there's just stuff that they miss, and this was the case here. As you see, Austin Zorgan once again at turn 3 and 4. That's calamity corner for this race, I can say for sure.
And you see what you can't account on the track workers is if you get one truck that goes off and kind of pulls stuff onto the track, you can't account for that. And I'm wondering maybe if that initial incident, there was, we saw all the trucks all over the place, they could have drugged more moisture onto the track from the grass, and I don't know, maybe that could have played a factor in that as well.
Yeah, there's some things you just can't avoid when it comes to road racing, especially in a temperamental place like this. And unfortunately, it came back to haunt quite a few of these guys. As you see Jojen Stoyan exiting the pits. That's the proper heartbreak story of the race, I think. But and here's one of the last ones of the race, Brandon Smith. He was having such a strong run in the top 10. He's the last victim of turn 3 and 4. and it just comes back to bite him. Here's what took place after the race. Ben McDonald slid wide, and he collides hard with those barrels and gets into Roger James for good measure. And these guys all back here, they're trying to commit to pitting once the race is over, and they just all collide with each other. There's just nothing they can do at that point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. To go back real quick to Brandon Smith, Smith was running in the top 10. I think he's standing to gain a big point day, and right at the end of the race, it's gone because he just went off just a little bit. And it sucks to see that happen. Somebody fight all day, he survived as long as he did, and then to have that happen to him, it's unfortunate.
For sure, but these drivers asked for a more aggressive package, and they sure got it here at Pukekohe Park. So, from Ryan Griffin and from myself as well, we say goodbye from New Zealand. We'll see you again back stateside in a few weeks for a double-header weekend at Nashville Superspeedway. That's going to be a lot of fun for our drivers. The invert race, it's going to be a lot of fun for those guys. We'll see you again then. Congratulations to Francois Chastain for getting back-to-back wins at this very tricky racetrack. And for all those that failed to finish, well, at least we've got a few ovals to satisfy you until the next time we go road racing. But for now, so long from Pukekohe Park. We'll see you again soon. A great day for Francois Chastain, not so much for everyone else.